Hello subscribers and non-subscribers, and welcome back to Let's Play Victoria 2. So, one thing I'm going to mention real quick is that we are using the historical project mod for this series, so we are not playing vanilla Vicky 2. And we are playing as Brazil because they're the ones who won a poll that I ran roughly towards the end of my last Vicky 2 series. So we will be playing as, at game start, they are labeled as the Empire of Brazil. We shall see if we're still the Empire of Brazil at the very end of the series. If we're being honest, the answer is probably not. I should note that the historical project mod does add in a number of new events and things like that. And I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of them are sort of over my head. I don't quite get them, mostly because they're not stuff that I learn about, and I just haven't really sat down and tried to learn what they are. So my goal for this series at the end of the day is try to just make Brazil a great power come the end of the game in 1936. As a secondary, if we can manage to achieve it, it would be a fun goal. I would love to invade Portugal. I don't know if that'll end up being the case. We may not be able to do that. But either way, that's not our primary goal. Our primary goal is just to get Brazil to be able to be a great power, which should very easily be achievable, at least to get into the lower half of the great powers. It might be a little bit harder to get into the top 4, but at the very least the bottom 4 should be easy enough, especially since we already start out as a secondary power, though we will fairly quickly lose that status. Now I am going to go ahead and start my timer for an hour because this is the first part of a brand new series, and I try to, though it's not always the case, have the very first episode of a brand new series be an hour long. So a couple things to do. So this mod makes a couple of changes. For example, if we open up show options decisions, some of these changes it makes is, for example, making it to where crises cannot begin until 1886, which I'm perfectly fine with having that be the case. You have a couple of options here actually for either allowing them to unlock in 1870 or from the very start of the game. Yeah, and looks like the event dialogue for this one is a little bit off, because this one says they can only start in 1870, but the other one very clearly mentions that this was changed in recent versions to wait until 1886. But whatever. So yes, that is going to be it for this. I am going to go ahead though and do... Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do localized province names. This shouldn't actually affect us at all, but still going to do it anyway. Because why not? The rest of these though, I think I might leave as they are. Yeah. Yeah, so the rest of these I'm going to leave as they are. So let's just go ahead and hide the options decisions. I'm going to mark that as a don't notify me when it's available, because I don't need you to notify me when it's available. Now we're going to go ahead and get experimental railroads so we can hopefully start getting some railroads built. We do have a bit of an issue. I should note that we have literally 0 capitalists in our country, and by default we are the conservative party here. And so as a result we are not capable of building our own factories and the like. Well, at the very least, we're not allowed to build factories, so we need to try and get capitalists. That's kind of important. But when I've tried to test run getting capitalists, I've sort of failed miserably at that, so I don't really expect this to work out. We might actually have to go the route of switching to the reactionary party for the state capitalism, so we can build some initial factories for ourselves down the line. But I'm actually going to switch you to soldiers instead. I don't know why I put you as capitalists. Clearly I wasn't thinking. So Rio de Janeiro is going to be focused on getting soldiers because that's our most populous region, so I need to be able to recruit soldiers. And we'll have Bahia, or however it's pronounced, try and get some capitalists. Ecuador wants an alliance, so Ecuador is over here. They're an okay ally, they're not the greatest. Admittedly, the Argentine Confederation is a much better ally for me. Colombia is also not a bad ally either. Honestly, Colombia is much better than Ecuador, and those two I think can get into wars, right? Or is it Peru? Okay, it's Ecuador and Peru that'll inevitably get into wars with one another, probably. Colombia is fairly peaceful-ish. Venezuela is also a potential ally, but I think Colombia is probably the better one overall. Well, not by much, actually, from the looks of it. They're both pretty crap. Either way, let's go ahead and get started, and we loaded in the game and it said, oh, you'll be number 14. No, we're actually number 17, so we're not even a secondary power, despite what the game said we would be when we spawned in. Now, we do start out in a war against Rio Grande do Sul. So we're going to go ahead and deal with them, or at least try to. As long as we move along the coastline, we have no problem staying in supply. As soon as you move pretty much anywhere off the coastline, you lose basically all your supply, with a couple of exceptions. There is a little bit of leeway in some of these regions, but for the most part, you're SOL as soon as you get away from the coast. So that's something we're going to have to fix, and that's something the railroads will help us with, hopefully. And as soon as we unpause, we drop down to 19. Let's see, so a group of known radicals have been assembling at a central townhouse. So what is this? The Cato Street Conspiracy. So yada yada yada. I've been assembling at a central townhouse on Cato Street regularly for several months. The group's outspoken radical Republican agenda and its attempts to recruit new members have led local officials to raise concerned eyebrows and to keep watchful eyes on the group. In a dawn raid by police early this morning, suspicions were confirmed as the group was caught red-handed planning an assault on a known member of the cabinet in preparation for a future coup d'etat. Although we never risked the plan seeing fruition, the incident has sparked a debate in the upper house on the need to curtail and regulate the right to assemble. So we can either... jeez. Yes, it should be noted that this mod is also going to be much laggier, which also will affect the interface as well. It should get a little bit better as time goes on, namely as countries get conquered and countries like the Shogunate Japan gets united into a single country, rather than what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-ish countries. Yeah. Like 8 or 9 countries there. Once those all get united into one country, that'll help deal with that issue. So we can either say liberty must always be defended, which will gain us some plurality, which that's whatever. It's one of those pop things that's just like, the game can't be bothered to actually tell you that. So I've really got no idea how it really affects things. Because Victoria 2 is one of Paradox's older games, as I mentioned numerous times in my last series. So it doesn't do a great job sometimes of displaying certain information. So plurality is, it's one of these party policy ones. I don't recall which one it is. I think it actually falls, for whatever reason. Oh no, is that something else? You know, I actually don't know. It's not labeled as pluralism, which would be a religious thing. It's labeled as plurality, which I'm not sure actually how that affects things, because again, Paradox older games don't have particularly great UIs, if we're being honest. Only real complaint I have about them. They're still fun games, but they have issues. So, gain liberals in the upper house or gain conservatives in the upper house. Well, the Liberal Party in this case is a actually half decent-ish party. The biggest complaint is the economic policy is actually not that bad. No, that's foreign factories. Never mind. I mean, that's still okay. But I'm still not allowed to build my own things. I don't really care too much about the trade policy. I've never seen it have any real effect. I do prefer jingoism for the war policy, but pro-military is not the worst thing ever. Religious policy, I've never seen a particularly big effect on my country depending on that, so that's another thing, just like trade policy, that I can more or less ignore. I'm sure it has effects, particularly on religious minorities, but probably on unrest would be my guess, but they don't do a particularly great job of displaying any real effect from that, so I've never noticed anything. And then welfare policy, everybody has no official policy. You know what? Well, we're currently conservative, so we'll stick with them for now. So, let us avoid a slip into anarchy. It doesn't really do anything significant. Let's unpause again and try and get our military down there to Porto Alegre. I assume I can call in Ecuador. No, God, this is the issue we're gonna have, is a much more clunkier than usual interface, just because the game runs significantly slower. So Ecuador has said that they will support us. The reality is they're probably not going to send their troops, but they'll at least say that they'll support us, which is still a useful thing. Now, I will admit I would much prefer to not have to fight their army here, so I could just go around, but I'm pretty sure we'll still win this. And they are actually going to get away. I'm not going to tell you to restart, I'm just going to tell you to change your plans and head over there. Admittedly, Vicky's battle UI I don't quite understand fully, but it's sort of the standard. You have dice rolls, leaders, terrain, modifiers, so they managed to have a little bit of time to dig in, so we're not going to do as great as we could if they hadn't had time to dig in, but I'm pretty sure our troops are still... or maybe not. Our troops suck. Jesus. Okay, let's back off to Rio de Janeiro. Maybe. Yes. Run away. That did not go as planned. Ecuador is... well, actually, Ecuador can't even get to us because they have to walk through Peru or Colombia. Hey, Colombia, you want an alliance? Thank you. You will apparently refuse to join my war, which is a shame. Come on, close out of the UI. Thank you, game. Okay, change of plans. We're just going to go and siege their stuff. And call it a job well done after that. Kick game up to 4 speed. Yeah, you won't accept, and you still won't. You don't tell me why, sadly. No. I need you to go the route that minimizes your risk of getting caught, which admittedly is actually probably moving along the coastline. Venezuela's offering us an alliance as well. That's nice, and you refuse to join. Okay, I was about to say, I'm not quite sure why I have vision of you, but that's because of Colombia's navy. So we're off to a pretty bad start. Uruguay is offering us an alliance. You will accept, which is actually useful because you can send a couple of troops from the other side and maybe distract them. Though admittedly with the those rebels there, maybe not, but I'll still ask you to try. I just need their stuff to get sieged, and typically, particularly older Paradox AI, is very particular about protecting its stuff when it gets sieged. So maybe. If I can at least take their capital, that's a significant boon. Sadly, we don't have cannons though, so this will take a while. Well, let's say that it's actually still relatively quick because they don't have a fort there at least. Interestingly, this is still in our favor. Why is that? I'm honestly not sure why this is in our favor. We actually have 8 war score, which means the war is 8 in our favor for some reason. Ah, because of the blockade. That would explain it. Let's see. Prussian-British relations, war between Kaffa and Gondar. They are heading down south, but I assume they're going to try and siege San Miguel. Which gives me time to finish sieging their capital, maybe. And potentially link up with my allies, Uruguay. So, are you guys still no's, or have you changed your minds? You are still no's. That's annoying. Yeah, the Argentine Confederation is probably really our best ally at the end of the day. They're also a potential threat, of course. I should note that our army will basically comprise of this single army for quite a while. We're really going to struggle when it comes to getting military. Okay, that gets us up to 40, but to get peace we need 60, so let's go ahead and siege Pelotas. Jesus. I'm gonna actually sit in Porto Alegre. Or Alegre? I guess it's Alegre. Whatever it is. Uruguay has some serious issues with those rebels, but so long as they're here to help me for as long as they can, all's good. Okay, looks like they're gonna go over to... I'm gonna go and attack Uruguay, so I'm going to take a roundabout way to try and reinforce Uruguay, but looks like they're not gonna manage to hold out long enough, which is a bit of a shame. I need you guys to win this battle. We have more morale, but our organization, but we don't have the men to do this, which is, like I said, we're off to a bad start. Call in Uruguay again and run our asses out of there. Chile wants an alliance. I mean, I suppose you're useful, potentially, sure. Yeah. Like I said, off to a bad start. When I did the test run, I won that first battle very easily, so... Since we lost it this time, it's significantly hampering us. Okay, you're already involved in the war anyway, technically. Because apparently... rebels overthrowing your government does not take you out of any wars you're currently involved in, which is a very interesting change, to say the least. Now, our men don't reinforce particularly quickly, I assume. I don't have any real way of seeing that, do we? Not that I can see, no. I could mobilize, and honestly I probably should. You know what? We have basically no industry anyway, so screw it, I'm gonna mobilize our forces so I can at least, or our citizenry, so I can at least get a couple of troops. These troops are admittedly complete and utter garbage at the end of the day, but you know what, they're still better than literally nothing, which is what we previously had. Or well, might as well have had at least. Pull back to De Janeiro. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna scrap our navy after this war, but for now, they maybe have a use. And those guys... of course, the game still has them rise up where there's an enemy standing in that province. And there's no way that they were going to win that. Oh, Uruguay's already back. Wow, you're fast. War is still technically in our favor right now. But not for very long, of course. Let's just go and try and siege our stuff back, at least a little bit. We'll leave Uruguay to do their magic of sieging all of Rio Grande do Sul stuff for us. I mean, I don't technically need to siege it myself, I just need to be sieged, and I'm the one who would get at the end at least, so... As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter who takes it, as long as I get it in the end. Actually, does that count as anything? Maybe. It's a little hard to tell, but I think it might actually. Now, if only Uruguay had cannons, this would go so much faster. Go resiege their capital. Sad state of affairs, we've been forced into bankruptcy. That's not surprising to anybody who's been paying attention. Not exactly in the best position. Okay, what do the people want? The people want us to outlaw slavery. So currently we allow slavery. We can change it to freedom of womb, which is that children of slaves are freed at birth, but if you're already a slave, you're still a slave. The idea being that this sort of slowly kills off slavery without actually officially killing it off. So 16% of the people want us to get rid of it entirely, 11% of people want us to keep allowing it, and 9, almost 10% want us to do freedom of womb. If we look at voters, how does that change at all out of curiosity? That changes quite a bit more in favor of slavery staying as is. Yeah, significantly fewer people want us to outlaw it outright, if you look at the voter numbers. See, so nobody would complain if I do censored press, which is moving it more towards free press, which may not necessarily be what I want. Let's see, what are my choices? Honestly, none of these choices are particularly great if we're being completely honest. Yeah, I'm just gonna go for outlawing slavery, screw it. God, our navy is crap. Admittedly, it also basically gets no supply anyway, so that's somewhat understandable that it's crap. We have basically no money, so our navy gets basically no supply. You know what? I'm just gonna go get rid of our navy now, because it's not gonna do anything for us. Gets us to 48, and they're way up there, so it's gonna take them a little while to get down here if they wanted to try and stop us. They're of course gonna decide to go and siege Sao Paulo before they come down here, presumably to attempt to liberate their capital, because again, older Paradox game AI tends to really not like when its stuff gets sieged. So once you start sieging its stuff, it tends to turn back around and stop sieging your stuff and try to retake whatever it's lost. What's this? Bread and peace. It's on its way, guys, don't worry. It took us a little longer to achieve this than I would have liked, but we're almost there. Almost there. Just need to go ahead and siege Paso Fundo. And maybe re-siege our stuff. I'm not 100% sure on that, if I'm being honest. We may not have to re-siege our stuff, or we may have to. But we'll see. We got railways. What are they offering? They are offering to allow me to annex them, but I'm gonna do the offer myself because I don't trust the game. There we go. See, we won. It took longer than it should have, if I'm being honest, but we still won. One of these things gives... Well, I know somewhere there's... Could have sworn it was in commerce. Yeah, there we go. I think they changed the names here, maybe. Or I've just never paid attention to them in the first place. That's actually also a decent chance. So we're going to go ahead and now get early classical theory and critique, so we can get lumber, or rather sawmills. Yes, game, that's what I want to research, thank you. Demobilize, thank you. Get rid of the cav, because it's crap. And we're gonna try and rebuild our military. It's gonna take us a while. So we currently have 2 infantry. Honestly, it's, what was it? 10-2-5, something like that? No, 10-1-5. No. 4-1-5 is the starter. And then I just doubled up my stuff later, so we need, if I'm recalling correctly, what the sort of quote-unquote optimal army composition is. It's 4 infantry, 1 cav, and 5 artillery. We can't quite get the 5 artillery, which is fine, because artillery is expensive anyway, but we're gonna want it. And we'll just have to find some way to pay for it. We do need to repay all these loans. God, that's expensive. So tariffs up to 100%, military spending down at 50%, education get you back to 50. Screw administration apparently. Forget naval spending, and land, I need that up. I really need that up. I'll put you at 30% for now, so that maybe I can actually afford to do stuff, maybe. And we'll just have to sort of try and pay this off, which luckily we have no interest, but yeah. Because this is red and we've declared bankruptcy, if I recall correctly, I believe that means we are open to all of these countries potentially declaring a repay debt casus belli on us. So don't be shocked. Oh no, maybe not. It's also possible they just chose the option that is a, we're not going to go and invade you, to force you to continue paying your debt. Not 100% sure. We'll figure it out. In the meantime, we're heading back to Rio de Janeiro. Aha, we've managed to get a couple of capitalists. Which is actually somewhat shocking, but that's good news. Yes, they're trying to build a textile mill in Rio de Janeiro and a cannery in Sao Paulo. So they are kind of failing to get the investment necessary because there's only like 54 of them. So yeah, they're going to struggle with that. We're going to play on 3 speed. So War of the Farrapos, I think that's how that's pronounced. Porto Alegre is under Brazilian control once again. The Gauchos, however, have promised to continue their rebellion against what they consider unfair rule from the throne. It may prove difficult in the coming years to keep the region calm. They will submit or suffer the consequences. I said they will submit or they will suffer the consequences. Thank you, UI. I understand you're very, very slow because of this mod in particular. I mean, you're already not super efficient, but you're even worse. With this mod. Rise of Belgium, and the UK goes to war to annex the Sikh Empire up there. Now we do have a war we could potentially declare on Paraguay, or Paraguay, or whichever way you choose to pronounce it. Technically one is an official announcement or pronunciation, but I don't recall which one it is off the top of my head right now. We would not be able to beat Paraguay right now if we chose to go and fight them, so we are not going to fight them. We're just going to continue sitting here, twiddling our thumbs, waiting for our military to maybe build up. And looks like the game has decided to prioritize getting the artillery, which is super expensive, so yeah, it's going to be a while. Let's go ahead and dump some money into paying off our debt. I think we got the British off our back. Oh, nope, not quite. Can we get the British off our back and the Russians and the US and France and Prussia, and then the rest of them we can just kind of let be. Is this Chartist rallies? A rally has been organized in one of our states by members of the Brazilian Chartist Club calling for the extension of the voting privileges to broader strata of the voting publicum. While calm and relatively orderly on the surface, the rally might get out of hand at any time. Police are standing by, ready to intervene, and some among them may seem eager to. So 10% more people in Bahia become 10% more liberal, and all poor strata there become 10% more in favor of wealth voting. We are currently on what? We are currently on weighted wealth, so this would change nothing, especially for the poor. So it's a little bit weird that the poor would be... I mean, I understand that it's a step towards them being able to vote, technically speaking. But even with wealth voting, the poor would still not be allowed to vote. It just makes it so that the rich and the middle class are on an even playing field when it comes to voting power. Whatever. No, I really don't want to deal with militancy too much right now, so let them hold their rally. Our military is not quite going to be... Oh, Uruguay. What did you do? Nope, sorry Uruguay, you're on your own. I ain't fighting the Argentinians for you. What's that war about, out of curiosity? It was started by Uruguay to humiliate the Argentine Confederation. You have literally no military, Uruguay. You wanted me to come in while I'm still in the process of attempting to build a military. Because I kind of lost most of it last time, plus what I had before was expensive anyway. So, war between Argentine Confederation and Corrientes. probably mispronounced that. On October 5th, 1838, the China Confederation announced that a state of war now exists between them and Correntes. Yada yada yada. They wish to puppet them. Is that correct? Yes, it is. Yeah, no, I'm not getting involved in any of that crap right now. It's going to take us a while to get our military up for the simple reason that it's very expensive to try and buy, particularly artillery. Yeah. And we're only currently spending 5% on construction. Can I get that to 10 out of curiosity? Is that at all possible? Yes. Kind of-ish. So that'll help speed it up a little bit. I mean, how much does artillery cost? It is 70.4, so yeah, artillery is expensive. It's actually the most expensive thing on the market right now. Is that correct? Yes, looks like it is. And it tends to be pretty expensive. Okay, so that's interesting. I never noticed this button before. I think it might be new for Historical Project Mod, because I definitely don't recall this being a button here. Allowing my pops and factories to buy from my country's stockpile, which is not the worst idea ever, to be completely honest. I'm going to turn that on. One, because I'm not manually doing any buying or selling, so it's all perfectly fine. It would only be an issue, according to this, if I was manually buying any good, which I am not, as you can tell by the AI thing under all of them. So that should be fine. Admittedly, we don't really have a particularly big stockpile anyway of anything, so I don't expect any of our pops or factories to be buying from our stockpile, but, you know, in theory they could. Yeah, what was that about the Argentines not having a military? Because that seems like a load of bull. They have 40,000 men, though admittedly most of those men are evidently conscripts, and apparently they have a lot of brigades that they can mobilize. Okay, so voting again. Upper House has decided you can enact more political reform. So what are our choices? Well, if we go by what the people want, the next thing we would do would be wealth voting. If we go by what the voters want, the next thing we would do would be allowing slavery again, which we just outlawed, so we can't do that. Yes, the only 10% of the House would vote yes on that. So moving on to the next thing that the voters would be in favor of, it's wealth voting as well. So I guess we're giving wealth voting no matter what. Though actually it might have been useful to go for the conscripts potentially. Either increase my mobilization size, although that increases the mobilization impact in the education and decreases education efficiency, or I can go with no draft, which increases immigrant attraction, which has its own uses, and we are in the New World, so we get a lot of immigrants anyway, though. Well, we will as we grow. It's not that high right now. In fact, actually, it looks like it didn't really grow at all from immigration. Well, either way, as a general rule of thumb, if you're in the New World here, you have a lot of immigrant attraction, period. So no matter what, you tend to have your population grow. Well, there's plurality. That's a shared consciousness in our country. The memories of the past victories and defeats in the name of liberty remind our people what could be. I don't know what the effect that actually has, though. I assume maybe it has an effect on people joining rebellions, maybe? One thing I can think of. They don't really tell me. Don't worry guys, I'll lower taxes once I'm actually able to afford stuff. Or well, rather after I paid off all this debt. Which we still have about 4,000 to pay off, so this will be a little while. But it'll get better once we have finished building our army, which is gonna take forever because we cannot artillery. It is way too expensive. And at least, honestly, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and say screw it to the artillery, in fact. Because we just can't build it. It's way too expensive. Are we going to struggle to get small arms too? Please tell me we're not going to struggle to get small arms too, because I need to get some small arms. I know those are also a little bit expensive at, yeah, 44. Oriental crisis. You know what? Let's read that. What does that say? Egypt has been effectively independent of the Ottoman Empire for some time. Now that independence has become all too apparent and Ottoman mastery over the Orient is threatened, the Ottomans must either assert their dominance once and for all or admit their power is little more than an illusion. There are those who feel that a peaceful solution is possible and that the Egyptians might better serve as powerful allies than as implacable enemies. But that would require the Ottomans to surrender their claim to the Levant, as well as be an affront to Ottoman pride. So we're going to end up with the Ottoman crisis, or the Oriental crisis anyway, and the British will eventually get involved. Well, presumably they should. I've played a number of games and they almost always got involved. Let's see, after you finish buying all the canned food for the second army, or the second infantry brigade that you're trying to build, are you going to buy small arms? That is very important. I will avoid repaying any of my debt right now, just to see what happens. And you've stopped buying canned goods. Okay, now you're back to buying canned goods. You just decided to take a bit of a break there for some reason. And then you took another break. Did a little bit more, and then took another break, and have done a little bit more, and a little bit more. You're almost done, and you took another break. Almost there. Almost done, come on. I just need to know if you're gonna buy any small arms or not, because that's very important for me to know. For some reason you seem to be prioritizing buying canned goods for each of the brigades I'm trying to build, instead of just trying to complete any of the brigades I'm trying to build. Come on, 0.01 left. Get that last little bit of canned food. Wonderful. Now, will you buy small arms? I want to hope the answer is yes, because otherwise this will be an annoyance. And yeah, war between the Ottomans and Egypt, not surprising. Oh yeah, we're gonna have an issue with that. Let's just go ahead and pay off our debt. And yeah, you know what, just screw it, keep taxes there. Can I get you up to 50 again? Thank you. Maybe 51. And raise construction up to, say, 20%. It's possible I just don't have enough money set aside for construction that it's actually able to even afford small arms. That is a possibility, I suppose. Kick it up to max and maybe now you'll buy them? Yeah, maybe. Come on. And you're not buying small arms, because of course you're not. I'll kick that to max just for the hell of it, but we're not actually going to be building a navy anytime soon, but I'd rather make sure that it is actually being built in the event that I do proceed to actually at some point maybe build a navy. When does in bankruptcy end, out of curiosity? December 7th, which will help us a little bit. Not really, but, you know, technically it does. And bad debtor increases our import costs, which is probably part of the reason why we're not buying. In part, one of the reasons we're not actually able to afford to buy any small arms. And you know what, actually tariffs probably kicked up to max don't help either. If I lower tariffs, will we be able to afford any? Because I'm pretty sure tariffs affect both us and our pops. I mean, technically we're still making money, even with that, but we are failing miserably, come on game, to buy small arms. Yeah, that ain't gonna get any better, is it? Can I get administration up to 50 without going bankrupt again? Maybe, yeah, looks like it. Okay, guys. I don't really care for the textile mill, if I'm being honest. I'd much prefer if you would build a... the cannery. Come on, guys. Start buying the goods. Yeah, God, that's gonna take forever, isn't it? Because, you know, we just have... We were basically not allowed to import anything, really, is the best way. Oh, Bolivia became independent. Yeah, thank you, Bolivia. I will definitely allies with you. Ah, because Peru and South Peru united into a single country. That's perfectly fine. As we continue to fail to do anything. If we can get our administration up, that'll help us with social reforms, tariffs, taxes, etc., etc. Still, wait, yeah, okay. We're definitely gonna struggle. At least that game start. Oh, how big is it? Okay, it's... I mean, it's bigger than I would like, but technically we should be able to do it. You know what? Let's just try building 2 infantry in Rio de Janeiro. And you're still gonna... What the hell does France want to walk through my territory for? France, you're at war with Mexico and Nicaragua. I am Brazil. Okay. There is literally no reason to want military access through my territory. I can understand if you are at war with like the Argentine Confederation, though really you shouldn't need it for them, but nonetheless, I could somewhat understand you may be wanting military access through my land if you are at war with them. But you're not at war with them. And even then, it would be a terrible idea to march your troops through the Amazon. Do you have any idea just how many troops you would lose as a result of attrition if you did that? Yeah, we're not getting, we're not going to be getting any small arms, apparently. Oh, there we go. Oh my god, we actually got some small arms. Then, now we're not getting any more small arms. Wonderful, you head back to Rio de Janeiro. We got some more. Oh my god, yes. This is actually working out for us. Also, I don't know who our leader technically is, but apparently we're in a regency, which is certainly not helping us. Might be a good idea to try to get out of a regency if we possibly can. Okay, so since we are apparently going to be able to get troops, let's, or small arms, let's try this again, game. Let's try this again. We want jingoism, so perhaps violence is the answer after all, because all these other options give quite a bit to pacifism and piss off the jingoists. I know, guys, taxes are high, but you're just gonna have to live with them for quite a while. Also, we're gonna really struggle to build railroads anywhere, I should note. One, because they're expensive at 6,000 right now, almost 7,000. And there's just not a whole lot of places that we can build tier 1 railroads. Let's see, so the Federal Republic of Central America is rapidly disintegrating. And by rapidly, they mean it's already disintegrated. Wow, that was fast. Members of the government have met in Guatemala City to discuss whether the Union should be officially dissolved and the state of Guatemala declared, or whether they should fight a civil war to preserve what they have. Some consider that an impossible task, though liberals argue that the government should not allow conservatives to doom the region to a future of division and internal squabbling. Apparently, the Argentine Confederation knows its place. An article in an Argentine newspaper paints a picture of amiable relations between our countries, calling on numerous examples of peaceful cooperation based on trust and friendship. The editor declared both our nations to stand as friends and brothers, which is a very interesting thing because they technically went to war with my ally. Or rather, my ally went to war with them, and I told my ally to piss off. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Is that I didn't help my ally, who decided to start a war that they were in no position to fight. Because they had absolutely zero troops. And even if they attempted to mobilize, they would not have had anywhere near enough troops to succeed. Okay, game. Now out of curiosity, can we potentially afford to get the artillery? Maybe not right now, and I might have to build them one at a time, but maybe we can get the artillery. Just maybe. We do pluralism. So let the people have their faith. Oh, how are you buying up that artillery? Ah, okay, you're filling out the Rio de Janeiro ones that are not being built right now, I should note. Because they're at the top of the list here. And that's just the way the game works for filling out those orders. It's the worst way to fill out those orders, I should note. But that's the way the game fills them out. As a result, I'm actually going to go ahead and cancel some of these, because we can't quite afford to do all of them at once. So I think we'll do them maybe 2 at a time. I think that's the best we're going to be able to do. Which is fine, we'll still get some artillery, and that's what we need. We need artillery. That'll help us massively when it comes to fighting wars. Oh, okay, so... we were in a regency because of Pedro II. So, coronation of Pedro II. Dom Pedro II, nicknamed the Magnanimous, was the second ruler of the young Empire of Brazil. Born in Rio de Janeiro, he was a member of the Brazilian branch of the House of Braganza. His father's abrupt abdication and departure to Europe in order to restore his daughter on the throne of Portugal left a 5-year-old Pedro II as emperor and led to a grim and lonely childhood and adolescence. Still, he grew into a man with a strong sense of duty and devotion toward his country and his people. On the other hand, he was increasingly resentful of his role as monarch. Inheriting an empire on the verge of disintegration, he turned it into an emerging power with an important economic growth. Distinguished from the neighbors on account of its political stability, still, despite its overwhelming popular support, Pedro II quickly became wary of emperorship and despaired over the monarchy's future prospects. Long live, we gain some prestige, regency is removed, we lose some militancy, and we gain some consciousness. I should note we're going to try and stay as a regency throughout this entire game, if we can. There's no guarantee that'll be the case, though. But we're gonna try and stay as a constitutional monarchy for the duration of this campaign, if we can. Let the people have their faith, as we said before. Conservatives won again. That's not super shocking if we're being honest. Let's go ahead and get military staff system so we can actually get some organization. We're still in bankruptcy until December 7th of this year, and we're still a bad debtor until December 7th of 7 years from now. So this will be a little while. Let's open this, but I don't think we can actually do anything just yet. If I want to do the Integration Act, I need to have a boatload of money, and I need to have invented experimental psychology, and I need to own all of my cores, which Paraguay, or however you want to pronounce it, like I said before. It's pronounced both ways, but one is I believe is the official way it's supposed to be pronounced, but I don't recall which one is which off the top of my head right now. So Paraguay owns Paraguayan Mato Grosso. Probably mispronouncing that as well. I'm going to mispronounce a lot of things I should know. One, because I don't speak Spanish or Portuguese. Certainly not fluently. I mean, I know a word or two of a number of languages, of course, but English is the only one that I speak fluently. So I'm going to definitely screw a lot of these up when it comes to the pronunciations. Build the damn cannery, guys. The cannery is more important than the textile mill because it has a lot more usefulness at the end of the day. I mean, I don't have an issue with the textile mill. It's useful. It has its uses for pumping up our industrial score, but it doesn't help us. Is the one thing I want to note. Let's go ahead and queue up another artillery built in Santa Maria. Well, I say another there, but I mean, technically it is another, but it's not another one being built there. What's this? War between Carlist Spain and Morocco, and Mexico goes to war with who? Rio Grande. Yeah, they should win that realistically, but they're gonna probably fail miserably with the other war that they have with France. Okay, now there we go. Now that makes more sense, guys. The poor will in Sao Paulo become more in favor of universal weighted voting, which makes a whole hell of a lot more sense for the simple reason that that actually opens them up to be allowed to vote. But let the boys in blue have their way, because we don't really want to let the poor vote. Certainly not right now. Maybe later. If we're absolutely forced to do it, we'll let them. But we're fine right now. You guys are having issues getting cement, which is annoying because I kind of need cement as well. I should probably build a cement factory, switch over to reactionary at some point so we can build a cement factory. Get that last piece of artillery that we're allowed to get. And the Egyptians surrender. The Egyptians have raised the white flag, clearly unable to resist the combined forces of the Ottomans and the European powers supporting them. They have offered to abide by the original Convention of London and return both Crete and the majority of the Levant to Ottoman control, while leaving them nominally independent and Muhammad Ali as Egypt's ruler. Should the empire refuse this offer, it's likely the rest of Europe will turn against it. So will the Ottomans accept the offer, or will they not? Also, pretty sure the game told me France went to war again, but France doesn't seem to be at war. No, France did not go to war again, they just added a new... No, they actually didn't, because weren't they already at war with Mexico for one thing or another? Game is very confused as to what the hell's going on with Mexico. Well, I guess more specifically what's going on with France. Because I'm pretty sure this second month in a row that we've been told that France is at war. My timer is just about to go out. Okay, so Netherlands is apparently wanting to go to war with Kalimantan, which is over here on Borneo, which is not surprising in the least that they're going to want to attempt to unite Dutch Asia directly under Dutch rule. Makes perfect sense. I can't really fault them for wanting that. My timer is about to go off. I don't think I mentioned that. I just looked over. What's this? There it is. So we'll end this part shortly. What's this? Annals of Amazonian History, a historian of some renown, has published a book on Amazonian history in Forte Sao Joaquim? Yes. I want to say Joaquim. I might be... Again, I'm going to mispronounce a lot of things. This book has the potential to become fairly explosive stuff among the Amazonian minority, rather. I don't know why I was about to say majority. But we are in position to exert some influence over its distribution. If we curtail the distribution, only the higher classes will have access to the book. If, on the other hand, we do not curtail the distribution, the book will probably instead see its biggest readership among the middle class. How should we proceed? Are there a lot of Brazilian Amazonas craftsmen and clerks? I assume there are. But let's see, craftsmen, and we actually have 0 clerks. And if we look at our entire country, all of the craftsmen that we have within our entire country are British. So I guess, what about if I do landowners and capitalists? Capitalists and landowners. There are some Amazonian. Okay, well, since there are literally no Brazilian Amazonas, basically Amazonians, within the craftsmen and clerks tier, let's go with that, because that will literally not raise consciousness at all. So that is going to be it for this part. Next part, we'll probably go to war with Paraguay to take the little bit of territory that they own that is supposed to be ours. And then I'm not quite sure what we'll do, if I'm being honest. We've got neighbors we want to invade, but a lot of them are a pain to invade, because most of them are up here to the north, where you have to walk through the Amazon, and that's kind of hard to get to. We're going to take a lot of attrition, and also we're kind of allied with all of them. Ignore that part. Even if we weren't allied with all of them, it would be a pain. Though I wouldn't complain about taking the Colombian little bit of the Amazon here. They can kind of keep the rest of their country, but I would kind of like to get the little bit here that they own. Just so we don't have Colombian Amazonas and Brazilian Amazonas. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what we'll do next part beyond take a little bit of land off of Paraguay. Damn it. Apparently I must have hit I. Oh, well, actually I don't think it, I think it's just a case of it didn't register me pressing the I. Or rather, didn't recognize me pressing L. So it was Brazil. Not quite the right country. So yeah, that'll be it for this part. Next time, like I said, we will go to war with Paraguay to take some of our core, well, our sole core that they own off of them. And that's probably all we'll take from them, to be honest. Because unlike in my other campaign, we're not quite in a, I say other campaign, my last Let's Play in Victoria 2, we're not quite in a position to be able to basically ignore infamy. So it's kind of difficult. Our expansion will be very slow. In fact, we're probably going to be mostly focused on building up our economy if we want to become a great power. And just making sure we have a big military even if we don't really use it. Yeah, that's probably the way this campaign will generally work out, at least in the early parts. Later on, we might go to war more often, but early on, we're going to have to really pick and choose what wars we get involved in for the most part. So yes, that'll be it for this part. I will see you all next time. Quick reminder, I do have a Patreon, so if you enjoy the content on the channel, that is the easiest and best way to support the channel. So link to that down in the description below. I also have a Discord, which I highly recommend joining, if only just to be able to stay up to date on channel happenings, because that is where I post whenever I won't be able to record for a week or whatever the case may be. So you can also find a link to that down in the description below. So like I said, I highly recommend joining. You don't need to be active, although of course it is encouraged if you decide to actually take part in the fairly small community right now that exists on my Discord. Excuse me. So yes, that'll be it for this part, like I said. I will see you all next time, but until then, as always, like, favorite, comment, subscribe, share, and I will see you all next time.